Find out what it's like to experience the world from above. Fly your own drone today. DroneCloneExperts.com specializes in high-quality, affordable drones. Now introducing their Limitless 2 model, equipped with a 4K camera for stunning Ultra HD clarity, GPS with precision auto return, and up to 25 minutes flight time on a single charge. Visit DroneCloneExperts.com now and enter promo code RADIO to receive 15% off your entire order. That's DroneCloneExperts.com.
Hey there, this is Tony Franklin here, also known as the Fretless Monster, and you are listening to Verbal Shenanigans.
But our shenanigans are cheeky and fun.
Yeah, I mean, his shenanigans are cruel and tragic.
Which makes them not shenanigans at all, really. Evil shenanigans.
I swear to God, I'll pistol whip the next guy that says shenanigans.
Oh, hello, and welcome on back to the Verbal Shenanigans podcast. It's been an interesting week for, well, definitely for me. I don't know, Mike, if anything interesting happened on your end, but it's good to see you, buddy. It's good to see your smiling face on the other end of this computer screen.
I mean, I got some mail. I could have already won $1 million a week for life.
Ooh.
I just got to buy some magazines.
Why don't we for the next hour before we get to our guest break down the mail you got per day, and we'll kind of do like the ratios of how many bills, how much junk mail, how much new mail, how much interesting mail.
Scott, I found the most interesting mail is sent to resident of my address. Though whoever used to live here named Resident, man, he has some interesting things. And so many credit card offers and so many Chinese food places that wanted in his business. His or her business.
You ever open stuff that wasn't yours that came to your house? You ever open it?
I'm sure I've done it. I can't think of like a whimsical story to tell you.
Whimsical. Nice.
Yeah. I will say, like, on an odd side note, like 2 days ago, we got a package, and the wife opened it up. It was like hair dye.
Ooh.
And it was like this weird thing where she's like, "Did you get me this?" I'm like, "Well, why would I get you brunette hair dye?" And then it was the whole thing. It took like 3 days to find out, like, a friend who sent my wife something forgot to change her Amazon shipping address. So, like, everything. So apparently we are looking forward to another, like, 4 shipments of, like, oddities to open up.
It'd be great if, like, you're like, "Yeah, we got hair dye," and I look at your screen and your hair is like purple today.
It's free. I'm using it.
Well, when we moved into this house, we kept getting this like package. It was like the same size every couple of weeks. And the first time we got it, returned it, like, you know, put it back in tried to send it back to them, but we didn't have the address of these people, and the boxes kept coming. So I'm like, you know what? I'm opening this. And it was just like 2 cans of decaf coffee over and over and over again. I'm like, well, this is kind of disappointing, because if it was a regular coffee, I would have been excited that the shipment was just, you know, kept coming. But decaf coffee is a little bit of a tease. So in my cupboard now, we probably have like 5 things of Folgers decaf coffee, if you're interested, Mike.
You think there's a way to add caffeination to something? There had to have been some person who's like, "Did you ever get the wrong coffee? Well, now you can fix it with Johnny's caffeine water."
This is your latest invention, caffeine water that you add to decaffeinated drinks.
Well, it's not me. I said hypothetically a guy named like Johnny.
So you just carry it for that one, like you always have it on you just in case you come across a decaffeinated beverage that you did not want.
Yeah, like you're at a restaurant and it's like 9 o'clock and the waiter's like, "Oh, would you like some coffee?" And you order decaf at first, but then you're like, we got a ride to get back home. I really wish I requested the caffeine, but the waiter's already gone. But then, like, in the commercial, the husband just, like, goes into his fanny pack and he's like, babe, I got you.
I'm sure there is some kind of, like, turbo boost liquid that you could put into your drinks that's, like, extra. I mean, if they make energy drinks that are, like, ridiculous, like, there's no doubt they have something that you could boost your drink. Like those little Mio things, you know how, like, I've seen advertisements for that. There's got to be something that just, like, makes your drink extremely. Now, I don't know if it's solely for the use of if you get served a decaffeinated drink that you didn't want, but I'm sure there's something out there, Mike. You might have some competition on that.
From the original makers of Four Loko comes Johnny's caffeinated water. You ain't sleeping for days.
Why are you putting all in this imaginary guy named Johnny? I feel like he doesn't deserve. This is straight from you. You're just putting it on this fictitious person.
No, like if I don't put Johnny's name in front of it, then you're going to just be like Burley's inventing stuff again. So I gotta just Johnny, the guy that we knew back in the day. Oh,
gotcha.
He always wore like pants,
right?
And he really could tie his shoes really fast. That's what I remember about Johnny. That, and he made caffeinated water.
So. Yeah, so basically your cover-up to your ridiculous inventions is to create a alter ego that makes dumb inventions.
I mean, I wouldn't say alter ego. Like, I'm not jealous of Johnny where I'm like, man, I wish that was my life. Ergo, I fictitiously made up Johnny.
Right.
He's just like the push-off and all, where somebody's like, man, that's kind of weird. And I'm like, I know, that's Johnny. That's just the stuff that Johnny does. He just invents stuff that's weird, and caffeinated water is one of them.
Well, hopefully you new listeners haven't turned off the podcast in those 5 minutes.
Anything to promote. Anything, Scott.
In those 5 minutes and 40 seconds. If you guys are tuning in, this is Verbal Shenanigans. I'm Mike. That is Scott. And while we have been able to put out episodes on the regular, this last 2 weeks has been quite an interesting week. So have a newborn. He's just turned a month old, and it seems schedule wise he's been pretty good, but it seems like the last two times now we've had to cancel some interviews, we've had to move some stuff around, trying to find time, and it seems like he has picked these exact days for interviews as times to just be like out of control. Like, just can't get him down, can't get him to stop screaming, crying. He's picked those days. Now, maybe he's telling me something, or...
Well, let's start off right off the bat. He interrupted us by being born on an interview day.
That's true.
We had the schedule right. So, literally, the day he was born, he messed up the podcast. You see what's happening here, Scott. That's
true.
Google orphanage near me so we can just continue with our classic entertainment for all 20 of you out there. Guess it.
Look up baby Dropbox. You could just, I'm sure there's some kind of Uber for unwanted kids now.
Or like you go to the post office and be like, I know it's toys for tots, but can we reverse it? Can I give you this little thing, and then you just bring it to like a toy store and they'll be happy growing up?
Yeah. I mean, like I said, there's all sorts of DoorDash and everything else. There's got to be one that just picks up babies and brings them somewhere else at this point.
I think it's called the cartel.
So, yeah, we've had to move around a bunch of things and move 2 interviews. One I wasn't upset about, but one I was kind of like, oh, damn. So there's been that. And then, Mike, my immediate family has they have contracted the imaginary virus that is down in Georgia and in taking over New Jersey. Yeah. So I've been talking to you, but I figured I might as well tell a little bit of the story here. So we've been dealing with that, and my wife and I don't really have too much help with the baby besides my mother. Her family's down in Florida, so it's kind of hard. That's pretty much all we got, and we're also not trying to go to people's houses and go out to places. And so it's really been kind of locked down again here in the Brennan house. It's like, we know that it's, could you go overboard worrying? Yes, of course. But it's like kind of like more of the rather be safe than sorry kind of mentality over here.
Now, have you had anybody, either you guys or in your family, that's like trying to play the whole, well, how about this? And we put up some plexiglass and we put styrofoam over the turkey so we don't touch the turkey directly. Just like cut into the styrofoam block and dig out your meat, things like that.
Luckily, most of the interactions where we had people meet him, we really only had my immediate family and like 2 couples that live down the street like stop in and meet the baby. But most of them have been outside. When it was like a couple days ago or last week, it was actually pretty nice out. But anyway, so my brother-in-law works on a police force, and COVID was running wild on the police force, and sure enough, he came home and flagged positive. No sense of taste or smell. He just thought his allergies were being weird, and they made them all get tests, and boom, positive. Okay, so it sucks. Not expected, not unexpected completely. You're kind of out in the police force. You're dealing with people all day long. You're in the car with other dudes and close proximity. So then naturally, my sister gets it. Live in the same house. They were trying to they were trying to quarantine him in the same house, and like he was locked in the office for days. And but it's a little scary, not really scared for my brother-in-law and sister, because they're younger. The survival rate is pretty high, and you see people mostly get it. They quarantine, they get a little sick, and they're kind of okay. That seems to be the most common story you hear. Mm-hmm. Now, the nervy part is that they do have like a 1.5-year-old, and you're told that it doesn't really affect young ones somehow. But how much of that is? How much do we really know? I mean, this thing's been around for a couple months. How do we know the effects on? So that was a little nerve-wracking. Now, my mother watches the baby once or twice a week, and so my mother and my father go get a test. Okay, both of them flag negative. So we're like, okay, good, because my mom's been here. She was also visited like friends who have like the one friend that they hang out with all the time. Her husband has pretty bad cancer, so she was very nervous about who she may have exposed or whatever. Naturally, now my mom is also. We are very different. She is the ultimate worrywart, where I like sometimes will be like, don't worry about it, and then it comes to bite me in the ass sometimes. But my mom, I am completely convinced, worked herself up so much worrying about, oh my God, the test, this and that, the babies, the people that I visited, and that on Thursday she goes into the hospital with like chest pains and blood pressure issues. Which sucks, but it happens. It's okay. But when she goes in there, she flags positive now for COVID. So, so all this is happening with the baby stuff, and so now my mom's in the hospital. And sure enough, it's kind of like it was at the beginning again. They only let my dad in for 15 minutes. That was all he was allowed to visit. And she was kind of locked in a wing, and she said she's like hitting. The button for nurses, nobody's coming, and they're kind of just like left alone in the hospital, it seems.
Ooh.
Yeah, they'd come occasionally, but they can't tell if the blood pressure thing was related to the COVID or the COVID was just complete, or she's kind of like asymptomatic and it just kind of one thing happened,
chicken or the egg kind of deal.
Right. So needless to say, so my mom got out of the hospital, so I don't want to worry any listeners or anything. So she's out of the hospital. They finally got her blood pressure down. But now it's like Thanksgiving's canceled. Now it's just me and the wife doing, we're not cooking with a 1-month-old. We're not preparing a whole feast. So I did the whole order from the food store Thanksgiving meal I'm going to go pick up. And so we're not going to see, it's the baby's first Thanksgiving. We're not going to see my sister and brother-in-law. We're not going to see my parent. I mean, and we were only going to keep it super small anyway. There was going to be 6 of us and the 2 babies. That was going to be our Thanksgiving. So, and then Mom's home, and now she's starting to feel some of the COVID symptoms. She's starting to feel like tired and a little congested and headache, and so much so that like she was in the she went to take a shower the first day. She's like, I just want to take a shower, and she passed out in the shower and fell on the ground. My dad had to come get her, and like she's all bruised up. So it's interesting. And I don't want to go too much into all that, but like it's interesting. You do the right things with the COVID stuff. My parents they don't go see anyone else besides they watch the baby and they kind of help out. And when you hear all about it and you see the spikes and the upticks, and then it seems still a little distant until it like affects your family, your loved ones. It's an interesting thing. So,
yeah, I mean, I find a lot of people I guess in a weird way, I kind of compare it to like 9/11. Yeah. Like from us being in the Northeast, like all us Jerseyans, New Yorkers, Pennsylvanians, Connecticut, all that, we can all just bond with like kind of like the story of where were you on 9/11 and stuff like that. And everybody has a story and an impact and stuff like that.
Yes.
And it like a weird thing, like people don't understand. There's people in like Midwest and other parts of the country that like, oh yeah, that day happened and blah blah blah, where it just doesn't connect with them just because it's not close to them or relatable in any ways.
Right.
And it just seems like as these stories are picking up, and once it's like affects the family, it's weird. It's kind of funny if I kind of recall your parents were like, didn't they take like the last cruise before everything shut down?
Yeah, that was kind of scary too. It was like March, probably 20th. They were still on the boat, and that's when everything was getting shut down. And you were seeing those stories and people locked out on cruise ships for weeks at a time. We were really concerned they weren't going to get off for a long time.
Now, did they go into it? It's like, this is just like, it's like a flu or something like that? No. Or did they go into it? Well, I'm a little concerned, but we paid a lot for this.
I would say a little bit of both. They were kind of like, okay, like getting a little nervy, but they were going with a group too, and the whole group was going. And they were like, okay, well, we'll be careful. And then I think like as they were on the ship, that's when all this news started like coming out more, like the NBA was shutting down, the sport was shutting down, the cruise ships were shut. And I think like even my mom like said the whole trip they were just waiting for it to be over basically so they can possibly get off the ship. Like there was no real enjoyment. Like it was like you had to fake it, oh, this is fun and all, but the whole time you're sitting there thinking like, oh my God, am I going to be on a cruise ship for 3-4 weeks, like locked in the... Listen, cruises are... I went on one cruise in my life. It was cool, but I think I don't know how many nights 6 nights or whatever was more than enough for me in a little cabin room. More than enough. I think a 3-night cruise would be like perfect for me.
Yeah, I think we did a 5-night, me and Izzy. We did it in February. We literally lucked out. This was like, yeah, we've heard of it, but like nobody was like, all right, global pandemic kind of deals. But like I even remember like almost like jokingly, like Izzy's like, oh, it'd be great to kind of be stuck on the boat. And I said, you don't understand. These boats only have X amount of food, honey.
Right.
They're like, they don't have... It's not like they come to port and it's like, all right, next group on the boat. We got next week's food all ready to go. So you will literally be floating in the middle of the water, starving, kind of like that cartoon where like Bugs Bunny's looking at Elmer Fudd and he turns into a turkey kind of deal.
Yeah, and imagine how grumpy like the characters on a Disney cruise get by like week 3. Like Mickey's just real irritable, like get away from me, Like I highly doubt they're.
Mickey! Shut up, we're all gonna die.
Yeah, they probably have like that overtime day to 3 days in them where they could suck it up and still. But after that, they're like, damn, these are people too. They're probably like, get away from me. Don't come anywhere near me. I'm not playing the character right now. I quit.
No,
like,
you gotta remember when they're wearing that suit, it's like they're walking across the boat in the outfit. You can't just like shift this done and take your head off. So like as you're walking along, every kid will be like, Mickey, and then you gotta still be cheerful. Hi, do the wave, and
I just see him
you
quit.
hope you got like another cast member there, like, oh, Mickey has to take care of something. He'll be right back.
I just see guys like taking the head off and launching it into the Atlantic and be like, I quit. Like that's I'm done. Like, but yeah, Cruise was really cool. But I'm like a guy who likes to explore. Like, and I don't know. Like, I thought by like night 3 or so, it was like, okay, I kind of have seen the ship. I've seen there's the casino, there's the bars, there's the pool, there's this, and I kind of have seen it. Like, I don't know how many nights I could have really done more than what I did. So
yeah, I think it really depends on like the adventure, kind of like all the time. Like I've heard about like cruises and heard about like people like they never leave the boat, and I'm like, well, that's so stupid. I mean, you're going to a Caribbean island, don't you want to go in there and explore? And to be really honest, like when we got off at the Bahamas, it's like, I mean, other than we went to like a brewery that happened to be like right there where the boat is, I sat back and said, it's like, I don't think I want to like cruise around the island, because if you don't know, if you didn't like research beforehand, you can get screwed. Right. You can get screwed very easily.
Oh yeah. I remember Jamaica, just every like little excursion I did was like, man, you have to like just suck it up and like have some balls and just ignore all the pandering and the scam artists and everything else like that. But yeah, so and vacation, right, is fun when you want to be on vacation, and then if you're trapped somewhere, like say you're trapped somewhere and can't get out due to hurricanes and things like that, you got to remember the money runs out, the pressure from your job to return starts to get bigger. It's not, you're not like your wife says it'd be great to be stuck. Like eventually all that stuff starts building up. Like, oh, who's got my dog? The mortgage, like all that stuff doesn't go away. In fact, it just gets worse as the days go on. So yeah, but yeah, so that's been going on like the last 2 weeks, and I gotta say it's depressing. It's depressing. It's like, my mom was coming like twice a week to kind of help with the baby, and now it's just like me and my wife, and it's a lot of work. I mean, he's for the most part he's a good baby. He's just he has his moments, probably like any other baby, where he has his days where you're like, Jesus Christ, kid, like. So that's all been that's what's been going on in Scott's world here. So, but things are looking up. I guess the plus side is that she's out of the hospital, because like it seems like these hospitals are flaring back up to exactly the way where they were at the beginning. There's a lot of stories about like shortage of beds in certain areas, and I guess the only positive is that they know a lot more about COVID now and like how to treat it. It seems like at the beginning everyone was on ventilators and people were dying left and right, and it turns out that wasn't even like the right treatment for most of those issues. So I don't know, man. It's weird. It's funny to still see people just politicizing this thing, and like this just came at the perfect storm where we got to make it one way or another. It's just linear thinking, no matter what it is, and I got to be listen. If people were just careful and like embraced maybe when we started the lockdown, maybe it would have gone away. But yet we made it into this like political thing where it's taking your rights away. Well, now it's like, well, it looks like we're shutting down again. At least in New Jersey, it looks like the writing's on the wall. The shutdowns are coming again.
Yeah, I mean, there's been shutdowns around the world and everything like that. Or as Parler puts it, big government getting in your way. Like, I still would love to like sit down with like a huge kind of like, somebody coming up with these theories and all. It's like, oh, the government and this and that, or it's the Democrats. I'm like, all right, like nowadays you can't get like 6 people to agree on what restaurant to go to like 8 months from now.
Right.
Yet you're saying like global countries around the world figured out how to do this big con and maintain it and still be like, it's cool that we're losing millions of dollars in our economies, but we're going to get.
Well,
like,
Mike, what you don't understand is that the Democrats hated Donald Trump so much, that they created a virus in China, released it all the way through Europe, basically killed thousands and tens of thousands of Italians, and they were just getting rid of them. Then they wanted to release it on the United States, politicize it, kill a bunch of people. Then they were also able to rig an election. They were able to do all of this somehow without ever being found out, with no traces of it. That's how much the world hated Donald Trump. They all joined together just to get him out.
Yeah, well, okay, that makes sense, and maybe I can buy into this. It's not far fetched. I mean, I like the strategy of let's wear masks, but the masks don't work, but they want the virus to continue, but they keep on telling me to wear the mask to take away my freedom. Right.
So that's it's just the liberal hoax. That's what it is.
Yeah. I need one of those Charlie Day boards with like strings to go across each story to come to the final. Aha! It was Jimmy Carter.
And honestly, like here's what it is for me. It's like, it's a great thing that it doesn't. The death rate is a lot lower than we originally thought, and that it doesn't kill a lot of young, healthy people, but it does. Like, look what it did to nursing homes and older people. Like, and I get nervous. My parents, they're no young, they're no young guns anymore. They're in their late 60s, like turning 70. Like, those are the people we worry about. And then when it happens to you, it's a whole lot different. And it's like, look, you don't have to be absolutely afraid to live your life, but like little things like wearing a mask and trying to trim down like the parties for a little bit, and like, to me it just doesn't seem like a big thing if you value like older people and people with like underlying conditions lives. Like, it doesn't seem like that big of a deal to me, but yet we've made it into just it's your freedom, it's this, it's that, and leave it to America to just you would think a global pandemic would unite the country for a little bit. Nope. We lasted about a month, if that.
Yeah, well, I mean, those are good points, but Scott, my football team is a half a game out of first, so I got to get 100,000 into the stadium to root us on to get the 4-7. So
listen,
I'm sorry. I know you love your parents, man, but man, football team fever. Come and get it.
The odds of getting 100,000 people in the football team stadium. Come on. You need like 4 full teams in the area to die completely. So there's no one else to root for.
We're getting there. So watch out. If we could just get that virus a little bit closer to Baltimore, man, the DC area is going nuts.
Well, so that's what's been going on. Let's shift gears. Here, and let's get to our guest. Our guest today is a very accomplished bass player. He is known as the Fretless Monster. He's played with Roy Harper and The Firm and Jimmy Page and David Gilmour and Whitesnake and Kenny Wayne Shepherd. He's a really cool guy. So here is our interview with the one and only Mr. Tony Franklin. Looking gorgeous as always.
I do my best. Gotta play the part of a rock and roll star.
Yeah, I'm trying that too. It's just not working out the same for me. I don't know why, but
it's all good.
So Tony,
I got a look that plays like a mid-level accountant right now. I apologize.
No apologies necessary.
Tony,
what's happening?
You good?
What's happening? What's going on? What are we going to talk about?
Not much, man. What are where are we calling you at? Where are you at right now on this planet?
I am in a place near Temecula, which is about 90 minutes outside of LA.
Okay. Now, are you? I guess we'll start right here where we started with a lot of different guests and whatnot. Are you like during this pandemic? Has music just kind of shut down for you, or is it more like been a time to just write and kind of create projects that will eventually be released? How have you handled music during this pandemic?
Well, my music career typically has two phases, which is either when I'm touring or when I'm at home, even during normal times. So, this has been an extended at home period where I've been doing the remote recording sessions for years now. Right. And so I've been very, very busy. I'm very, very thankful to have had, pretty much consistent recording sessions this whole time and different things, different things that have come up. So it's been cool. And also finishing off some writing and projects I've wanted to get to. So I'm writing memoirs and all that kind of stuff. So, but, I've been doing quite a few recording sessions. So people are at home a lot more. So they also have time to get to those projects that they haven't been able to do. And so I've been doing the home recording for close to 20 years now. So it's kind of well established in that world. So it's pretty cool.
Great.
Now, for what I read up, you have been on the stage since the age of 5. So, out of curiosity, has your music style changed from that 5-year-old little boy?
I hope so.
It better be no, absolutely not.
I still have the same joy and the love of it. That's the one thing that hasn't changed. Every day to me is like, I see my bass and it's like the first time I picked it up. In fact, this is my first real bass right here that I got in 1976.
That a boy.
Fender bass. And
yes.
Yeah.
Love that.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, and so I remember the first day I got this. I remember the first day I played bass, and it was such joy and such a magical feeling. Bass felt like it was the instrument I've been waiting for, quite honestly. I was only 11 years old when I came to the bass, or the bass came to me. And so, you as a player, as an artist, as a writer, as a creator, I feel like I'm always learning, always evolving, always creating. And so, the same spirit is there where I was 5 years old. You just get a lot more aware. You get a lot more efficient, and you just, but that same love and passion remains the same, which I'm very thankful for.
So Tony, I play bass I still play, but not like all the time. I played bass in bands for years and years, and we've had the pleasure of having Victor Wooten on the show twice. We had Stu Cook from Creedence Clearwater on the show, and I'm always curious as far as bass players how bass finds them, because a lot of times, like, people start these garage bands and they don't have a bass player, so they take their guitar player friend and figure it out. It seems rare sometimes that you find these natural bass players that you alluded to it. You said the bass found you. How did you find the bass and not guitar or not drums? Like, what was the first time you really picked it up, and what did you identify with it?
It's hard to explain, other than just everything felt right, and I sense. I've been playing music, as you know, for quite a few years before then, doing gigs. Right. I was playing the drums, I was playing keyboards, I was singing little bits of percussion and dancing around and all that stuff that you do at 5 years old, and I could read music. I came from a big musical family, so I could read music by the time I was 7 years old pretty proficiently. And so, there was just something about the bass that just made sense to me. It all came together, and I understood, even then, its role, it was, it's holding down that low end. It's become, as you become more aware, obviously, that you fine tune it, you put in your 10,000 hours, if you like.
Right.
I mean, I was playing gigs on it 3 days later after first getting the bass. So it was that quick, and because my parents just. I had that opportunity. It was the 70s in Britain, and there were gigs everywhere. I mean, at Christmas time, 15 years old, we'd be playing 3 weeks straight of gigs.
Really?
And you don't have that opportunity now. You really don't. And so I was very fortunate. It was just, I didn't think about it. It's just how it was, how I grew up, and that's how life was. But you look back and think, wow. All of that really shaped me into what I am, because we did all kind of gigs. I was doing orchestral gigs. I was doing big band. I was doing cabaret gigs with my parents backing artists. And you had to really be thinking on your toes and be thinking very quickly and play in a lot of different environments, musical changing and all that. And so, I didn't think anything of it. It was just how our family was. It's how life was. And so, but you look back now, it's like, wow, what an opportunity that was. And, it enabled me to be able to handle and do the opportunities that came to me later in life with the firm, with Roy Harper at a young age. I mean, playing with those legends, I was with Roy Harper, I was 20 years old. With Jimmy Page and Paul Rodgers, I was 22. I mean, it's crazy. In hindsight, I didn't think anything of it. It's just how it was. I didn't think, it's Jimmy Page, because honestly, I wasn't in awe, or I wasn't really even a fan of Led Zeppelin at that point, which is a whole story unto itself. So I wasn't thinking, wow, it's Jimmy Page. How am I going to handle this? No, it's just, it was a gig, and we all wanted to do the best we could and make a great album and put on a great show, which I think we did. Yeah.
Not shabby, I mean, it's just so amazing. When you started at such a young age, and like you say, literally in the 20s, you're dealing with legends and all, even though it's just another gig. I'm just out of curiosity, like growing up, was there any doubts whatsoever that music was 100% your life? Was there even like a thread of maybe I should go to college or get into sports or anything like that?
Well, I was never into sports. I didn't like college, but for 2 years, now you can leave school at 16 years old in England, and which I did. And for 2 years, I worked at Rolls-Royce Aero Engines. I did 2 years of a 4-year apprenticeship to be an apprentice draftsman. And, drafting the parts of aero engines and all that. And but I was still playing loads and loads of gigs with my parents and that all around. I knew in my heart that music was what I wanted to do, but I wasn't sure how it was going to happen, because I came from a small town. I didn't know any other musicians, no bands or musicians at school. I didn't hang with any other kids in my age that played. It was all my parents and people you meet through big bands and orchestras and that. But so it was not like an obvious path. I couldn't see it. I couldn't have predicted it. I just knew that that's what I loved to do. And then, they call it hard work, call it good luck, call it karma, whatever you want. I was just in the right place at the right time, where all these connections kind of lined up. I didn't really think about it. I just kept turning up and playing, and hopefully did a good job. I mean, I didn't know about networking or relationship building or any of that kind of stuff. I just kept playing. And even there are so many knife-edge things where things lined up or could have gone one way or the other. I mean, when I started working with Roy Harper, that was a recording session that I was in a professional 10-piece dance band in 1980, and the drummer knew the manager of Roy Harper, and Roy Harper was putting together this recording session, and they'd asked if they knew a bass player. So I was playing with the guy in the 10-piece dance band. They said, why don't you try Tony? And so, it was one of those things. And even then, it wasn't like I wasn't offered the gig immediately. There was another bass player, older guy in the equation, not a named guy, but I wasn't at that point. So it was yeah, okay, let's take a chance with Tony. I had short hair and a blonde stripe down one side at that point. And it was Roy Harper. And it's like, wow, and he took a chance on me, and we ended up doing a bunch of gigs and albums together. And then fast forward to 1984 when he did the album with Jimmy Page, asked me to do it. And then, that's how Jimmy and myself connected. And he happened to be putting the firm together at that point. But I wasn't asked to be in the band. I was asked if I wanted to sit in on the rehearsals, because they wanted to see. It's not only about the playing. I'd done an album. I'd done some gigs with Jimmy, so we had a rapport, and it was feeling good. But he wanted to bring me in and see how it felt with everybody. I respect that because it's. It's not only about the music, it's about the hang, it's about the chemistry.
For sure.
And so, and we rehearsed for probably, I don't know, could have been 6 weeks before I got a clue that I had a future with it. And then we went straight in and did the album. And because we were so well rehearsed, we went in and did it all in pretty much in one take, all the tunes. So, I look back and it's fascinating how those things lined up. And on the other side of it, things have not sometimes lined up. Things have pointed me in a whole different direction that prevented things. It's like there's this, I don't know, this divine power or the force or the universe that said, you're going to do this. Here we go. We set it up for you. Just do a good job.
Right.
Or you're not going to do this. Sorry. No matter how much you want to, you're going that way. And so it's. I find it all very fascinating. That's why I'm writing a memoir, because it's so interesting. All these little connections and the ways that life has pointed me in different directions. Some of it's been harsh, and some of it's been amazing. And but it's all a fantastic journey at the end of it.
You're writing a memoir and writing a book, and you've done so much with music for so long with some of the greatest in the business. Obviously, we can talk about everything in a little while, from Jimmy Page to Kenny Wayne Shepherd and all that. Now, let me ask you, as a musician who is a guy who's played bass for all these years and live shows and recording, how do you work as far as writing a book and sitting down and writing stories and whatnot? Do you find like it's a completely different part of the brain than playing music? Is it hard to remember all that you've done and make it entertaining for the reader? Like, how do you find your skills translating to writing a book?
Yeah, well, great question. I find that they are very, very similar because I write a lot of songs. And one of the things I've been doing during this time is finally getting them recorded so I can put them to use. I'm not really looking to do a solo album or any of that kind of stuff. I want to get them out for licensing opportunities and publishing or whatever, just put them to use. Writing, and I write music and lyrics. The creative process is pretty much the same. Mm-hmm. I find that there's a spark of an idea, and then you just have to expand upon it. And a story, a lyric is kind of almost like a mini book in itself. It has a beginning, it has a theme, it has an ending. It may have a bit of drama in the middle and all that stuff, and but it then has a conclusion. And so a book is really just I'm finding a grander version of that, and it's more like doing. I was going to say it's more like doing an album, but it's more like doing 10 albums simultaneously, really.
Yeah,
because you have a lot to keep an eye on, and I've been actually working at it for quite a while, but and so a lot of the stories I do have a great memory for it, and it's funny when you start writing, a lot of it comes flowing back as well, and so I feel compelled to do it. I feel I grew up with what a lot of us grew up with. I grew up with some really bad bullying, and so, but you come through that, and to show that you can have success and you can have things in spite of all that. And there's a lot of obstacles and things, and things that I've overcome. And so it's more of it's kind of an introspective, almost spiritual journey,
right?
And but it's interlaced with rock and roll and some legends and some great stories. Even though I think there's enough out there about the drug and the sex stories and all that. It's not about that. It's there, but why go into it? They're all the same story, aren't they? Just different characters.
Well, I'm curious. So, you said like the with the bullying thing. Like, I've had ideas for a book as far as like a career I had in the past and just stories from it. Did you just start out by writing stories and found that thread of like bullying, or was that the like did that come from writing it out and be like, oh man, I do have a message or a lesson through this, or did you have that idea first and then started writing stories that relate to that?
Yeah, well, really, I always had this idea that I wanted it to be inspiring in some way. However, I had not set out at the very beginning to realize that the bullying was such a big part of my life that has definitely shaped things and decisions and interactions and, just all sorts of things. I mean, I realized as I was still writing, I've done therapy, I've done, all sorts, and lots of forgiveness and all those things you go through on the journey to move past bullying. And, I'm good with it. But then you realize when you dive back into it, wow, it has affected me, and to a degree even still affects me, but you learn how to manage it. For instance, you walk, and if I'm out for a walk and I see somebody who's a certain demeanor or a certain build or something, they're walking a guy, it'll always be a guy, and I will feel myself tense up. And it's just like that old muscle memory reaction, if you like. But you learn, I learned this through therapy. It's like, okay, first of all, you take a few deep breaths, and then you reason with yourself, there's no runaway train speeding at me. There's not a bull charging at me. There's not somebody holding a gun to my head. I'm okay.
Right.
And, so as you learn to deal with it, but those residual effects are still there. And it's definitely got in the way sometimes of professional relationships. Especially when I was younger. I mean, it's like we're learning how to deal with that, not even knowing what you're dealing with. And, I drank my way and drowned a lot of that. You suppress it, you numb it. But when you stop that, it's like, whoa, I realize it's still something that you need to deal with. I can't keep drowning myself in alcohol to run away from it. That's not solving it, is it? So, it's that stuff came up as I was writing, and it felt like it was important to share. And so there are a lot of things like that. I mean, near-death moments, and where I was brought back, where I had a choice if I wanted to die and all that stuff. I mean, it's very rock and roll.
That's an incredible story. I've also been looking up. I see you've done a lot of like giving back and teaching. You've done some rock and roll camps, and I know you do a master class of it. Kind of going back to a point you were talking about, when people ask about like the sex and drugs, it's boring. You want to concentrate on the music. When you get like these people who come into your classes and so forth, do you get a lot of that starstruck, I want to hear everything about it? Or do you get like a lot of the, no, I want to learn from the best, I'm going to concentrate, I'm going to shut up and listen to you kind of people?
Well, the Rock and Roll Fantasy Camp, of course, they're just doing virtual classes right now, but, it's going for 21 years before that. But They're very good. It usually goes over 4 days, and I'm one of the rock star counselors. And what we do, for people who don't know, the people that come in and they hang with us for 4 days. They pay for it, of course, and they get to meet some of the headliners, and the headliners are incredible. We've had Paul Stanley, Gene Simmons, Roger Daltrey, all sorts of people over the years. It's pretty phenomenal. So they will come in for a couple of hours and jam with all the bands, and then meet them and do Q&A and pictures, all that stuff. We as the counselors are with them for the whole 4 days. It's our job to whip them into shape. Most of them are very, very focused because they know that they're going to play probably their favorite tune with their favorite artist.
That's
if
pretty
somebody's
cool.
going to play, if somebody's going to play Paranoid with Tony Iommi, you can guarantee that they want to put in the time to get that right.
Exactly.
However, saying that, they have we branch off and we do master classes within the Rock and Roll Fancy Gamble. All the counselors do, and one of the popular ones is Road Stories. And so we'll have like a 2-hour open discussion where the counselors can ask us those questions. And they do ask those kind of questions, but you get very good. I mean, some people actually most of my friends in the business don't really go into it. We all know it happened, but we don't. There's this unspoken thing that you don't disclose it about other people, and it went on, and it's like, hey, would we want to go back to parties we were at the 80s and disclose all that we did and all that? I mean, regardless, as a rock and roll musician, those opportunities are there for us. Of course they are, but when we're teenagers, we all got into trouble, didn't we? So we don't talk about it. There's no point. It's nothing. It's like something that was, fun and part of growing up. And, rock musicians can take a little bit longer to grow up, of course. But, but we do. We have this way of sharing fun stories and sharing stuff that is, I like to share stuff that doesn't put people in a bad light. Yeah. But it still gives them a glimpse of the rascals that we were.
That's pretty cool. So let me ask you. So if you started around age 5, you've been in the music industry for 50 plus years, and you've worked with the likes of all the guys in the firm, Roy Harper, Jimmy Page, and Kenny Wayne Shepherd. Is there someone that you worked with over the years that just still blows your mind about how their writing process was and the way they wrote songs, and or I guess maybe like the most unique person you ever worked with as far as making music that approach it from a different angle than you really have ever seen? Because you've, like you said, you've done everything from orchestras to dance bands to everything. Was there someone that just blew your mind, and still to this day that you will always look at that as like a very unique experience?
Yeah, I mean, really comes down to Jimmy Page and Roy Harper, the two guys right at the beginning. Roy especially, I mean, he was a huge paradigm shift for me because, and I don't know how, Pink Floyd and all that, but he has a huge catalog. And he's like the English Bob Dylan, so to speak, but more fingerstyle and kind of eloquent on the guitar and all that. And does a lot of the open tunings, and he was the master, still is the master of. I'd never heard anybody who the lyric and the flow of the music had its own heartbeat that was not. It didn't follow any particular, shall we say, musical theory or proper guidelines of music. It had a stream of consciousness that meant that it had the seamless thing. And when we were first doing that, the drummer was not used to odd time signatures. And there was one song, it was on the Work of Heart album. It's a title track called Work of Heart. And there's a bar of 5 in it. Only happens once. And I told Roy this. And he said, there's a bar of 5 in this. Really? I have no idea. And I said, don't tell me, because if I think about it, I'll mess it up. And so, I had to tell the drummer how to do it. And there's a video of us in Glastonbury, 1982 or 83. And I'm looking around at him, and you can see the drummer going, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's like this bar where it's this bar of 5. Because it's so odd if you kind of look at it musically, theoretically. But Roy and Jimmy does the same, which is part of his magic, where these things that turn around but yet flow so effortlessly. But if you study them, it's like, for instance, the intro of rock and roll as a drummer, when I was a kid, it's the only Led Zeppelin song I knew as a kid, but you always think that the drum beat starts on the 1. And I'm, forgive me if I'm getting into theory stuff here, but
it's really interesting.
There's this dude, it's into the song there. Well, people think that it starts on the 1 like that, but it's not. It starts on what we call the 3 and 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. They knew that every time I slowed it down. It actually comes from a song. Who did it? Was it Little Richard? You can hear you knocking, or it was one of those guys. You listen to it, the drum beat's right in there, and but so that went from the drums. It went from every little instrument, such quirky little magical things, and they still blow me away to this day. So the thing is, I didn't come into Led Zeppelin on the front end. I came into it on the back end of the firm, and so it gave me a huge and deeper appreciation for Jimmy that only continues. Seeing what he did and all that he was in touch with something deep. I don't see anybody that has done that stuff like that. That's why there's all these Led Zeppelin wannabes and none of them quite get it, because it's like it's comes from a very deep place. And for me to I don't think I could have worked with Jimmy if I hadn't worked with Roy. I mean, aside from the obvious connections, but musically, Roy prepped me for that with working with Jimmy. And so, to this day, I consider them the 2 musical geniuses. I mean, seriously, the best.
Absolutely. When you come up in the 80s and rocked...
Hang on, it went quiet.
Oh, can you hear me?
It went quiet for some reason.
Hello?
Are we on?
We're still on.
I could hear you.
We can hear you.
Hang on.
Checkity check.
Yeah, go ahead. For some reason, I took it off the speaker for some reason.
Gosh, no problem. Well, what I was saying was, when you think of rock and roll in the 80s, the first thing I usually come to mind is music videos. So I was just kind of curious, when music videos started happening, I was wondering what your thoughts were when they were coming out. Do you have any stories about a music video with any bands like The Firm or Whitesnake?
Well, I wasn't with Whitesnake in the 80s, so that was later. But The Firm, well, we didn't really catch on to what was going on. I remember when we did the video for The Firm, which we did at the Hammersmith Odeon in London. And it was after we'd done 2 gigs there. They're only like our 7th or 8th ever gigs. And we were on fire. It's amazing. You look back, that gig is still on YouTube, and it's high quality, the sound and the visual and everything. And the album wasn't even released at that point. And so we left the stage set up with all our touring stage and rig and everything, and we shot Radioactive. And so, at that point, I was I was still the newest member of the band. And so I was much younger. So I didn't want to overshadow those guys. I was like, I wanted them to, it was their band. So anyway, the manager turned around to me and said, hey, move around more like you usually do, you know, on the gigs. You're a lot more animated. I said, yeah, okay, all right. And so we did the third take, and that's when I did the what they call the radioactive shuffle and all that stuff, and all the dancing around pretty animated. And that was it. And that was the final take, and that's the one that they put it all together from. And so, you know, but before that, I wasn't really aware of music videos. MTV didn't hit in Britain. I was in Britain at that time. And so first time in the States, 1985, February, and the album had just been released, and Radioactive was all over MTV. And so I'm in Dallas, and we did our first gig in Dallas, and it's, I turned on the television, and there it was. It was like MTV, and it's like, whoa. And so I pretty much kept it on MTV after that. The film was played all the time. It was wild. It was amazing. You know, it's Jimmy Page's first band and Paul Rodgers' band since Led Zeppelin and Bad Coal. So obviously there was a lot of attention. But, you know, I still wasn't paying too much attention. I just didn't. Being in America for the first time, everything was new. I mean, being in Texas, after a small town of Derby where everything is huge, the roads are massive. The whole country is massive. They have billboards on the side of the road and all this, and these big arenas with, you know, filled with thousands of people and girls flashing the boobs and all that stuff. It's like, this is not England. So, you know, that was just the all part of the switch of being on the road and like realizing that life was very different for me. I mean, we had our own plane, we had our own limousines each. Everything was just grand. So MTV and music videos were just all part of that mind-blowing experience for me. I didn't really realize, you know, the impact and the MTV was having at that point because, you know, I didn't have the perspective.
Yeah. Tony, I could pick your brain for, I mean, I'd love to have you back on in the future and whatnot. I talk about fretless basses and there's a million things to talk to you about, but I really enjoyed our time here. You've done so much great work. You're really open and honest. So thank you again for coming on the show. What are you up to these days? And if people want to follow you and check you out or see what Tony's doing these days, what's the best place for them to go?
Yeah, well, thanks for asking on that. Yeah, I'm pretty much Fretless Monster.
Yep.
Everything. fretlessmonster.com, Instagram /Fretless Monster, Twitter /Fretless Monster, Tony Franklin, the Fretless Monster on YouTube, and all of it is pretty much there. And I'm hands-on. I handle all of it myself. So everything you see is put up there by myself. All the replies, there's nobody. I like doing that. I like to be interacting, and for now I can. Hopefully, you know, to some degree, I'll always be involved. Even if there are other people involved, I've been able to manage it. It does take a lot, but I think it makes a difference when you are hands-on. So if people, as I mentioned earlier, I've been doing a lot of recording sessions and that. So you know, I'm reachable very easily on my website, on all the social media. If people want to hire me for a recording session or anything, I'm open to it. And so I've been doing a lot of that and just creating a lot of music. I've been doing the Rock and Roll Fancy Camp masterclasses. I have another one coming up. Gosh, I think it's November the 10th. I'd have to double check. And so that one is great. And we talk about all sorts of things. I'm very conversational, like we are now, and it's Q&A. In fact, they just opened up a new segment of it where you can just have the viewer only, so you don't get to ask questions, you just get to observe. It's $25 for the class.
All right.
And so you can, and then there are more expensive options if you want to interact and and direct questions and all that. So I tell stories, I play, I philosophize, and
love it.
All that stuff.
Awesome.
So yeah, I'm active and doing a lot of things, and looking at things coming down the line. There's a lot of things percolating, but I'm just staying productive and busy as much as I can, and recording a lot of my own songs, as I mentioned earlier, because I write constantly, so I got to get it out there.
That's awesome. So, real quick, besides you've been playing music for 50 plus years, if fans of Tony Franklin, what hobby or something do you do outside of music that people will be like, oh wow, Tony does that?
No, nothing really.
If I ain't playing music, you ain't seen me do anything.
No, that's it.
That's it. I'm always writing music. Everything I've outlined here is pretty much what I do. I live and breathe music. It's like awesome. I just love it. It never leaves me. I'm always wanting to do more, and I have so much more I want to do. I mean, aside from that, I'm writing this book. I have another book, a fiction work on the way. I want to do a musical. There's that. It's all music and creative related.
That's awesome.
I guess the only other thing is that I love meditation. I love to be go within and just find that peace and find some put things in perspective. And so I call myself a truth seeker, and so there's that side of me. But other than that, I take good care of myself. I like to people see my green juices that I make.
Yeah.
Juice in the morning.
There you go.
Yeah, some people say, God, that looks gross, and other people say that looks really good. And so, I'm into it all. I live awesome. Life fully engaged. I don't like to, waste a minute. I'm always doing something.
And that's awesome. Tony, I want to thank you so much. We really enjoyed talking to you. We'd love to have you back on in the future. Stay safe out there. Good luck with everything, and we hope to talk again in the future.
Cool. I appreciate the time, guys. Thanks so much.
All right, Mike. Tony Franklin.
Scott, I've been thinking, I never played bass in my life, but I don't condone this fretless stuff.
No.
I feel if I went into bass, I would have to demand anybody in my band who comes in with a bass, I'm like, I better see that fret on there.
So you refuse to play a fretless bass. You have a stance against that.
No, this sounds like hippie stuff, taking off the fret. I mean, I got to think if my grandfather played a bass, it would have a fret on it. So, he's just mocking my family.
So you're saying that, like, frets are the American way and that it's like a liberal thing to play fretless. It's a hoax.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Scott, apple pie, baseball, taxes, and frets on my basses. I'm an American.
All right. I'm sorry. I didn't want to offend you by bringing Tony on the show, but
I mean, he was a very nice guy, but I got to admit, I was a little triggered there. Like any second, if we didn't hang up right there, I was like 3 seconds away from you, son of a.
I did
Put that thing back on there.
I did notice you getting a little fidgety when she started bringing up the fretless bass. I saw you getting a little hot under the collar.
He was rubbing it in my face, and I didn't appreciate it. I mean,
yeah. Well, Mike, you would consider us friends, right? We're pretty good friends.
We're buddies. We're pals. We've been together for a while.
For a long time. Mike, would you consider me one of your top 14 friends in life?
All joking aside, yes.
Yeah,
I would say that.
I'm not trying to crack the I don't need the top 10. I want to be in that top 14. Okay.
Like, that's a weird specific number. I hope it's going towards something.
No, I just picked it out of a hat. No,
but then again, this is the guy who wrote stories as in the third grade talking about like some guy steals everybody's money at 6:39 p.m. in this little town, if you recall.
That's true. That is true. The reason I ask, I don't know if you heard about this guy named George Clooney. Have you heard about this?
I feel he might be famous for something.
Right.
Well, I wasn't he one of the guys who got one of the mini cars from our former guests? Remember? I want to say Roy Woodbury was his name.
Something.
Remember,
like
he had compact cars.
Mm-hmm.
I believe a part of the story was George Clooney bought one of those.
Oh. All right. Well, he's known for other things than his mini car, but you know.
No, that's it, Scott. That's there's old mini car George Clooney going away.
Mini Clooney over there, Mini Clooney.
Mini Chlorians.
I don't know if you heard this story, Mike, but for years there was a rumor going around that George Clooney gave 14 of his closest friends $1 million in cash each. Okay. And years later, it took years, but it turns out the rumor was completely true. Okay.
Wow.
Yeah. So I don't know if you remember the movie Gravity?
Somewhat.
With him and Sandra Bullock. It was like a space movie.
Okay. Yep.
So apparently he did very well during that. And he said over a period of 35 years, these guys helped him in one way or the other. He slept on their couches when he was broke. They loaned him money when he was broke. They helped me when I needed help. And they're all very close friends. So George, apparently, he did some research. And what he found that in downtown Los Angeles, he had a plan to give his friends $1 million each. So now this is how he did it. He found a place in downtown Los Angeles, an undisclosed location. There's a place you can go. They have giant pallets of cash. Okay. So Clooney got an old beat up van that said florist on it, like he was in a heist movie. Drove downtown, got in an elevator with the florist van, took the van down to the vault, and loaded it up with cash. He told no one but his assistant and a couple security guys. They brought it up, and they bought it 14 Toomey. Toomey's like a brand of luggage. And they packed it in $1 million cash into each one in $20 bills. So,
there's so many things going through my mind in this situation.
Right.
First question, you couldn't write me a check.
Listen. Okay. Now, see, I totally disagree. Now, Mike, what is the most ridiculous impression? You go to dinner. Yeah, I invite you over for dinner, Mike. We're chatting. We just finished dinner. Maybe we're having a drink after dinner, dessert.
Okay.
And I'm like, hey, Ron. I don't know. It sounds like a good assistant name. Ron, can you get the presents or the gifts? And everybody goes, gifts, And Mike, maybe you're thinking, I got everybody like a craft beer or something, or maybe even like a bottle of booze, like something to take home. Now I'm a rich guy. I'm George Clooney. Like that wouldn't be, I don't think, out of the ordinary, right? Send everybody home with like a what do you call it, like a party favor almost, right? Mm-hmm. But all of a sudden you see Ron wheeling out 14 black suitcases. And you open them up, and it's all $20 bills, $1 million. Which has the coolest impression? If you're George Clooney, a check or a big suitcase full of cash?
Well, you're thinking of the presentation. Here's my thing going into this. One, you have a unmarked van with $14 million in it. If the driver just said, you know what? F it, I'm taking off and taking my chances, he'd have a pretty decent chance of getting a head start and getting away with it. There's number one.
Okay.
Number two, like I'm guessing when he gave this luggage, it was past regular banking hours where he can't just like take my suitcase to my Bank of America and just go put it right in. So I'm going to have to spend a night wondering how many people might know I have $1 million in straight up cash in my house.
So you're more worried about the night of, I guess you could say, holding that cash.
Yeah, I mean, well, let's think about it. Like, it's a great gesture and everything, but I'm guessing the 14 people he gave the $1 million to weren't really well off. So it's not like they're in like a gated area where it's like the odds of somebody like coming over my 8-foot high wall to my mansion and coming in and grabbing it are very low.
Okay.
I'm guessing one of these guys have a studio apartment or somebody that has like the elevator that's broken, so you're going up 10 flights of stairs with a suitcase with loose 20s in it. You get what I'm saying?
So let me get this straight. So you're at my dinner party, and 13 of the guys are freaking out about their bags of cash, and you're just like starting to get pissed at me, like, dude, are you serious,
bro? Like, I have to leave now. I can't just sit here in the bar with this.
You got some nerve, Brennan. You got some nerve.
Like, like, I'm going to, like, what am I going to do if I got to take a piss? I'd be petrified. Like, I got to bring my suitcase into the toilet to make sure nobody steals my money. You know, I mean, there's a lot of factors and loose cash just hanging around there.
Now, what do you think about the presentation of 20s? Do you think that's the right bill? Like what would you do? Like, would you go with singles and really wow everyone? And that's a lot.
Oh God, that how much would I can't fathom how much that would weigh. I would love to Google how much does $1 million $1 bills weigh. But I think hundreds or is there $1,000 bill? I want to say there's $1,000 bill.
Well, if I've never seen one, nor will. So,
listen, I'd like to withdraw $1,000 bill. I mean, I'm going to put it right back, but I just got to see it. Like, I have to pay for my house, but I just want to look cool for like 10 minutes.
I think 20 is a good, like, somewhere in George's mind, he had to think about what was the best presentation of money. Like, was hundreds? Did he do a trial run of hundreds and be like, it doesn't look as impressive in the suitcase? Did he have?
How big was the suitcase?
Right.
Like, can you imagine? Like, he started with 50s. He's like, nah, man, look at all that space, all them zippers with nothing in it.
That's what I mean. Did he try ones? And he's like, oh crap! Like that's gonna be 2 suitcases I gotta buy. Like he must have done some kind of trial run.
Like he's walking into the bar with like 14 huge ass trunks and all that. Here you go. Mm-hmm. Go at it.
I think 20s is nice. 20s is like, who doesn't love a nice 20? I feel like it's the most usable currency. If you have a 50 in your wallet, aren't you always like, I don't want to spend the 50. Like you don't want to break the 50. 20s.
It's always weird. It's like you gotta like, do you have change for this? And
right. I'm like, you use a 50 for a small item, you kind of feel like a dick. You're kind of like, oh, I'm sorry. That's way too. You buy a coffee and a bag of chips with a $50 bill, you feel like an ass.
I remember when I worked at Six Flags in the parking lot, and like one of my assignments was one of the refreshment stands in the parking lot. Like it's 8:30 in the morning, and I'm selling like dollar Cokes. And like telling people, hey, it's got the coupon on it, so you can save money.
Back when when you were selling Coke in the parking lot, in the Six Flags parking lot. Got it.
At the Six Flags parking lot, wearing a sailor suit because that was the uniform of the Six Flags parking lot team.
Just selling Coke on 8:30 on a Saturday morning.
Don't mind me, just a sailor with his Coke. But like literally, it's like a half an hour before opening, and the guy's like, "You got change for a 50," and I'm looking at him like, "Dude, I got nothing left if I give you this." He's like, "Well, I really want to save money," and I'm looking at like, "You got a 50, you don't need to save no $10 on your Six Flags tickets. Come on now."
Yeah, normal people are weary of using 50s, man. It's got to be like I like to use a 50 if the bill's like $70, so I can do like a 50 and a 20, but a 50 for small change. So I feel like 20 is universal. It's great. 20 is a nice little tip you can hand somebody. $20 gas is still what I get for some reason. I'm a weirdo. I still do 20 regular at the pump for no reason. So I like the 20 presentation. I'm with George on this one. I think it's classy. It's classy. Now,
I think I would just ask him, do you guys have $2 bills just to see if I could get away with it? just to see if there is like that's a million, so that's 500,000 $2 bills. I wonder if we had that many $2 bills for distribution. We have a world coin shortage and $2 bill shortage thanks to Michael Burlew.
See, now I would do pennies just to piss my friends off, but also make them at the happiest man. Unrolled pennies.
You're going into the damn Coinstar and the local shop and stop.
They take like a percent if it's like, I don't know, 10% or something. You're like, God damn it, I just lost $100,000.
Ryan!
Now here's
Can you give me a check?
Now here's how classy George Clooney is. There's more to this. He paid the taxes on all the money. So all the men got $1 million, like actual $1 million. There was no, you get it and have to report it. Like, you got it. So he paid God knows what else on the $1 million. Now, how bad does it have to be like George Clooney's 15th friend? You know?
Bro, we were in band together.
Like, it makes you, if you, like, bro, if you knew that I gave 14 guys I knew $1 million, and you're like, damn, what did I say one time? Or did I not do something he wanted to? Like, you would be like, holy crap, like, I should have been nicer to him for a day.
I think I would examine the list, and that would be, like, my biggest argument. Like, I would be like, dude, I didn't beat Taryn? What the hell?
Now, also, like, I don't know, 14, I would have a hard time picking 14 people to give $1 million. I could think of like 6 people I'd love to give $1 million to if I had it. You know, maybe I take care of the family, but 14 friends is a lot.
Yeah.
That's a lot of dudes to give $14 million to.
Yeah, not in the bloodline, not married into the family. That could be tricky. And then you're getting to the level where you're like, all right, is that dude I work with, are we friends?
Exactly.
Are we acquaintances? Is he really $1 million level? Right there.
It'd be great if he like prorated like how much he liked you. Like his best friend got $1 million, the next guy got 900,000.
900,000. Kind of like a game show kind of deal. I'd like it. I wonder if he did like an interview session with like, maybe he had like 20 friends and he's like, I can't give away 20 million. Let me hang out with each one of them individually for like a month.
Right.
And like determine the prime 14.
Here's a great idea for a game show, right? It's called George Clooney's 14. And so you take 14 people and they got to figure out where they are in the hierarchy together. And if they figure it out correctly, they all get $1 million. But if they mess it up, they don't. So they got to like debate and I'm the better friend. He would leave it to me. It's kind of like what was that show with they had the briefcases and they would reveal the number.
Oh, Deal or No Deal.
Yeah, it's kind of like that. They reveal like, oh, Burlew, we're gonna go with Burlew's number 8, and they're like, is Burlew number 8? No, and then like the money, it goes down. It drops like that percent. Like it drops 1/14 of a percent of the total. Now you have to get the rest of them right.
Like I hope he if he did like try to figure out. I hope he like played it straight. Like if you play this video, this game show, like it can't be like, let me open the door for you and it'd be like, oh, you get 2 points. I'd be kind of like, bro, no kissing ass. Come on, this is a straight up, be my boy, you get my $1 million. Okay,
right? Yeah, 14's a lot though, man. 14 best friends, because if I'm giving you $1 million, I'm calling you my best friend. Like, there's no, you better be my best friend. So,
yeah, like literally, it's like I give you $1 million. If I call you up the next day, I'm like, I'm moving tonight. You better be at the door ready to pick up my couch, okay?
Exactly.
There is no options to this. There is no, but it's my wedding anniversary. Bro,
Yeah.
look at your suitcase and tell me what you're doing tonight.
Yeah, not to mention he had to buy 14 suitcases. That's got to be up there too, you know?
Yeah, I can't fathom he went to his local, like, Walmart and got the cheap-ass luggage. And
like I wonder, you know, how rich do you have to be that like a $14 million, $15 million, cool, he's paying taxes, so probably 20 plus million, he you know, something like that.
Somewhere in that, right? If you figure 50%, so you're around 21.
Yeah. Like, how much money do you have to be like, I'm going to do something cool for my friends, where like a $20 million night's like, hey, yeah, that was cool.
I would say for to give away 20 million, I gotta have 60 in the bank.
Easy.
I think that's
easy. Yeah. I mean, you're giving away a third to your friends. That's tough. I don't know. But George Clooney.
Well, no, I'd say 60 flat. So like 80 in total, 20 to the friends. So I'm down to 60.
Yeah. So Burlo, I'm thinking about giving away $10 to 14 of my best friends. So you're in the running, pal. Just So George Clooney.
Well, I've hung out with some of those Jersey comedians. Just not being in the same room, I'm going to be like, my stock is just going to be coming up because those people can be lethal at times. You know, it's just like, all right, you're out. Like, you didn't have to say, Burley, you didn't say anything to me since the last podcast. You went up to number 4.
Well, George Clooney definitely just rose on the list of like cool celebrities because that's pretty amazing stuff there. So, Burlo, what do you got? You got anything before we go?
Yeah, I got a cute little story. And also, if you might remember in Things to Promote, I brought up like how I do workouts with this guy, Will Virtually, where...
what a cool name, Will Virtually.
Yeah, he's the latest signing from WWE, you know. He's a man from the future and all. He didn't get the memo that they stopped doing the cartoon stuff, you know. So
it's also weird that he only wrestles via Zoom. Like, it just doesn't have the same. It doesn't grab
I'm gonna get you, Shawn Michaels, and he punches the camera, and he's like, "Bro."
Yeah, his finisher is the mute button. You know.
Oh my God, we can't hear him. We can't hear him.
He's putting the poor connection on him. He's putting the poor connection on him.
My God, the PDF won't load.
Of all the things I've ever seen.
This meeting's going to go into our lunch hours. Damn you! You're such a heel.
Will Virtually strikes again.
So I do my workouts with Will. I kind of do them 6 o'clock at night, and got great results. But I think it was like a couple weeks ago, I just got back from the vacation, and I was kind of running late, getting ready for this Zoom workout, and I barely got it all set up and ready. And right before it, Callie comes into the room, my dog. And a lot of times, like when I'm on the floor, she thinks it's like playtime or whatever. So two of us are like horsing around or whatever. And she jumps on my lap a couple times. And then she's like play biting and all that fun stuff. So I'm starting to work out. And I'm going along. And I kind of notice I got something brown on my shorts. and like... And this was just for Halloween, so there was almost a scary moment when at first I thought, okay, I just had a chocolate bar smear chocolate on me, where you do the swipe. Luckily, I kind of said, let me smell this for a sec to realize the dog's rear end wasn't as clean as I would have hoped after her business.
Nice.
So I got like a turd smear on my workout shorts. On top of it, I just came back from vacation. So I don't have like any other clean shorts or whatsoever. So I had to, I had kind of changed around our living room a bit because we put up like all the Christmas stuff. So where I keep the laptop where I work out is on a different angle. We kind of have less room. So I noticed like he couldn't see me. Anybody couldn't see me below like my waistline. So I had to do the test since I had no time and there's like no breaks in this half-an-hour session. I had to go down to my boxer shorts to kind of do my workouts. And I have to say, for the record, boxer shorts are not the most supportive things when you're doing workouts.
Yep.
Yeah. There were, I mean, technically there were boxer briefs, but still it wasn't enough to like fully keep the boys in place. So it was a lot of awkward moments. There was a lot of jumping jacks involved.
Oh God.
Yeah, there was one exercise where he never asked us to do before. It's like frog jumps, where like you got to get into like a crab position and like leap like a frog, and then like do a burpee. So like literally for like 20 minutes, I'm praying like the angle doesn't change on my laptop to kind of view
now
what's going on. Like it looks like shorts, my boxer briefs, but at the same time, it's like it was kind of a nightmare to get through kind of this and all, just feeling the whole other body parts going up and down as I'm doing stuff.
Now, you know, sometimes like you see your Zoom square and it doesn't fully show like the full space that other people see. I'm hoping during this workout he's just seeing just balls flying everywhere and you're just Jeffrey Tubin.
So you're thinking he might have seen what's going on and he's like, all right, let's see how far we can go with this workout kind of deals, where like he changed it on the fly.
Oh yeah, he definitely recorded that Zoom and you're going to be a viral video real quick. Now, you didn't have one pair of C Squad shorts somewhere, sweatpants, anything you could have put on?
Nothing readily available. Like I said, like the workout starts pretty prompt at 6. Most of the time there's no break. We had a 1-minute break where I took off the shorts just so I can run to the sink and like douse them out and like throw them in the wash. But there was nothing where I could just run, grab, sink in, and then go to it.
You couldn't throw a dirty pair on. You couldn't throw something else. You just decided, I got a poo smear. I'm going to take my pants off for this workout.
I mean, the way you say it makes it sound weird, but I mean, I guess that's kind of the summarization of what I'm telling of this story.
I just picture the guy just in shock as he's just seeing ball fly like across the screen, like in the lower third. Just like, is that what? Like, are those? You know?
Yeah. And I'm not paying a ton for these like Zoom sessions, so he's probably like, "What are you doing to me right now?"
Not only that, wait till you try to log on again to the next one, and you can't get into the Zoom room.
I've been waiting in the waiting room for like 12 minutes now. Can I get in? Can't take a chance, man. Gotta have your gear on.
You know how many lawsuits
we gear before I let you in.
You know how many lawsuits we got from that last session?
That one frog jump, you went a little too high, Mikey, and we saw some things. Wow. I mean, great talent. Your workouts are doing well, but everybody's traumatized from the frog leaps now.
Like, there's things that I don't want to see that I want to see. Like, I wish there was a recording of this because I know you were probably doing these jumps also very self-consciously, so there's probably this, like, you probably looked awesome, is what I'm saying. Doing these, you probably were a lot of adjusting and maybe not going to the maximum height you can get on certain jumps.
I will say, like, it never seemed like anything was close, but at the same time, it was in my mind where I'm like, all right, I can't like just go watch this and just be halfway up the screen with my frog leaps.
Oh God, the frog leap that ended Virtual Will's career. Will virtually.
Yeah, you interview him like 10 years from now. He's got like a big ass beer belly and everything. That's the day I gave up on health, man. Just kept seeing that thing flying into my screen.
It'd be great if you had like
we're done.
It'd be great too if you had like a virtual background of like the beach or something, and then like your balls just kept popping through it. Well,
Burler, you're wearing green boxer briefs and all, but every once in a while I see some kind of like white flash come up every time you jump.
What's great is you could have been in Will Virtually's top 14. You are definitely not in the in the $1 million range anymore. But
well, that's fine. I don't want to be carrying around the luggage. We already been through that.
That's true. That's true.
Okay.
Well, we've had a lot of fun again here tonight. We learned about COVID, and we learned about Virtual Will and Mike's poo-stained shorts, and how great George Clooney is. So we've learned a lot today, and we also had Tony Franklin on the show. So it's a great episode.
Yes. And I hope we all learn put the fret back in the bass. Okay,
that's right. Real quick before we get to anything to promote, I got a random email. I don't even know it from podstatus.com from a guy named Carlos. And it says, hello, how's it going? Hope all is well. I have some cool information that might interest you. Your podcast has good performance in the last 30 days. Your number, position 47 in stand-up podcasts in Australia. 74 in stand-up podcasts in the United Kingdom, and 148 in the category of stand-up in the United States. Happy podcasting from Carlos, Mike. Just so you know where we stand in this world.
Well, I think I showed you before. I think it was a Lineable. I forget the place where I was
Chartable,
getting emails.
I think, right?
Chartable. Thank you. I think at one point we were 36th in the U.S. one day in the stand-up category. I know we at one time hit Australia, New Zealand, Canada. We made those charts. I think Belgium, I want to say, was another one. Was kind of weird.
Well, after they hear about these workouts, we're going to get an email from Carlos. A pod status will no longer carry your data.
We cannot condone your workouts.
This is more of a dark web kind of thing. So, Carlos, out. Burlo, anything to promote before we go?
I will promote a couple of our former guests. I know one, Natty Bumper Car.
Yep.
Him and Joe Carney have put out a Christmas book that is on Amazon called Douglas, A Christmas Tale. It's the story of Douglas, who is the happiest, most spirited tree on Maggie's farm. He lived to spread joy and Christmas cheer, even if he doesn't quite fit in. Joe and Natty, tons of respect for them on stage. Great guys. I'm so happy for them getting this out. So go on to Amazon.com this Christmas session if you have a little one, and buy Douglas, A Christmas Tale.
Yeah, nice little stocking stuffer for somebody. I was going to promote the same thing, but I did provide a backup because I thought we were going to do the same one. I want to promote our sponsor one more time, Drone Clone Experts. They've shifted into a lot of different products, and one of the products they've been promoting lately is a really cool new loudmouth shower speaker. So Burlo, if you want to do those turtle jumps in your in the privacy of your shower,
they're frog leaps. Come on now, don't mess it up.
Yeah, you can grab one for $11.99 right now. He's also doing digital charging banks and a bunch of other like gadgets and things like that. So, Drone Clone Experts, they're there for your really cool drones at really cheap prices if you want to get into the droning world. But also he's got different things, tablets, laptops, different speakers, like I said. So go check out Drone Clone Experts. That's experts with an X, X-P-E-R-T-S. That's it. I want to thank Tony Franklin for coming on. Really cool interview. What you can do for us is please leave a review on iTunes, and please share the podcast with your friends on these holidays. You might be locked in and nothing to do, so throw on one of our episodes. We've had a lot of cool guests and whatnot. So that's it, guys. Life is funny. Laugh at it and keep the wind at your back.
And keep your clothes leaps to a minimum height.
Well, now I'm tight, now I'm attractive. Turn me on tonight. Because I'm radioactive. Well, it's not a fight, and I'm not your captive. Turn me